Well, good evening, everyone. As much as I'd like to be bringing you this, the final PALGN Palcast, in better spirits, unfortunately, as most of you would have seen by now, this is pretty much the end for the current editorial team. So, joining myself, Jeremy, for this last Palcast is Anthony, our communications director, and
Thank you, Jeremy.
and Jared, our resident reviewing and in news writing machine.
I'm here every time we do this, so yes.
And
Hello.
everything Nintendo and PC related.
Yes. Yes.
Well, it's an interesting level of diversity you got there, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So,
represent two domains.
Oh, anyway, well, just to kind of get this out there, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people are wondering where they can get a bit more information on what's happened. Well, thanks to, well, no point harping on too much about it, but it's out there. It's all out there. Pretty much all the information you need on the internet. We're not too happy about it. We would have been happy to tell everyone what happened at the end, given that it would have been easier had we cleaned up everything by then. But look, it's all out there, and the fact is, we've made the decision consciously and collectively that now's the time to finish up with PALGN.
It was a very
Yeah,
communal decision, I think.
yeah,
We
we've
all,
all put in our
yeah,
2 cents, and we've decided that this is the best way to go in light of everything that's happened.
yeah,
It is, and it's a real shame because as someone who's been a part of PALGN for almost 7 years now,
for far
for
too
the things
long.
that 7 years way too long as well, mind you. Um, it's a real shame to see things finish up this way.
Yeah.
Um, Especially given how much not only I've put in myself, but pretty much every staff member that's worked on PowerGen's
Yeah.
put a lot into it, and
Especially
We've
towards
all.
those final days, it was really like the team that we had. We had a good coverage of pretty much every platform, every genre of
Yeah.
game. Everyone
And I
was
think
really
it's
committed.
it's probably in my mind it's probably one of the best groups we've ever had at PALGN in our 7 years.
Very
yeah. So
proactive.
yeah, one of the things that I really want to say was looking back at the 7 years, there's kind of been two periods where for me are golden periods. One was in 2007 when we were really killing it in terms of coverage, relationships with other people in the gaming world, um, the viewing patronage that we had on the site. It was absolutely magnificent. We had a stable of quality writers. Myself, I'd just become an administrator on the site,
I
and
think I just joined about 2007.
yeah, Anthony, I believe, joined in 2007. So at that time, that was a really great time. Things were going fantastically. But the second time for me was actually once we got on board the last the last major intake of Power Gen riders. So when Jared, Cody, Kian, Bev, and just not long before that, Jahanzib joined up. For me, what the reason that I saw this as a real golden time because I felt that I really had the team then to really take Power Gen forward. For
Yeah, it was
me,
our second golden era. Just the quality of work that these guys produced, and just the amount of writing that we had up on the website in that
absolutely, and
time
and
was
there was
astonishing.
yeah, and we'd managed to rein in back all the publisher relationships, so all the reviews were being covered. They were being covered on time. News was being covered.
Hmm.
E3 was absolutely blitzed by everyone,
We were
and for
getting
me,
invited
Even
to a lot of preview events as well, getting
yeah, we
photos,
were
yeah,
getting
everything.
invites left, right, and center. And for me, that's really the best time. Uh,
yeah,
had
and
things
it's just
worked out the way that I wanted them to, I reckon this was the team to take Power Gen
yeah.
to the next level. But
It was unfortunate
unfortunately,
because we had all our bases covered. We had fantastic relations with all the publishers. You and Adam were going to E3. Things were they were ready to go to the next level.
they weren't just as we've seen. Unfortunately, despite the best of intentions, things don't always work out as the way you want them to. But at the end of
But
the
I mean, the
day,
good thing was that we did go out on a high note.
yeah, no, it's been a really interesting experience, particularly in the last part of it, to see how things have reacted. And it's been a real
The dominoes
interesting
started
lesson.
falling, and you
Oh,
kind of
for me,
yeah, you have to react to the situation. You don't really have
yeah,
a
The
choice.
apples started falling off
Yes.
the tree.
no, it was just really fascinating to see how things react these days on the internet. So,
Yeah,
and one of the big things that I notice across 7 years, if I look across the 7 years being a Power Gen, how this industry has changed and how the way we go about reporting and covering video game material, it's completely different, and the audience has a completely different attention span to what it was when we started. back when I started, it was Resident Evil 4 had just been released. So that's how long ago that was. And
That's a good game
For-
to start on, I think.
The golden age,
Yeah.
indeed.
it was, well, the really interesting thing that I found about within the industry was that at that time, uh, games like Resident Evil 4, your Metroid Primes, GTA, Vice City, San Andreas, Halos, the really big thing about those titles was that people would keep talking about them for a really long time. And if you look across time, then what I notice is that people lose attention with these kind of big titles a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you guys
and they get
noticed that?
cynical a lot quicker as well.
Yeah, and that's another. Oh, it's almost disappointing to see how cynical this entire industry has become, and you just have to look at.
Thank you, Jared.
I resent this. You know, I'm gonna be cynical about these accusational comments.
Well, the interesting thing about it was, well, you just have to look whenever a game publisher or a game developer tries to do something different. You look at Hitman Absolution. You look at Devil May Cry by Ninja Theory. Whereas
you look at the Wii as a platform as a whole.
yeah, I personally like to look at things going, because even still today, if I get an invite to a preview event, if I get a review code sent to me, I still get excited. For me, there's still that level of excitement that comes with, ooh, what can I see next? Whereas I see
Yeah.
a lot of, the one thing that I would like to hope that in the future happen is that people lighten up a bit.
Yeah, the internet, this generation's bred a lot of negativity towards everything.
Oh, and the other fascinating thing as well is how we go about reporting things. And the big thing that, for me, looks like it's changing now is that long-winded features, long-winded articles such as walkthroughs, they're starting to really die out.
Yeah.
Which,
People just don't have time anymore. They just want the 2-second version, get their information, and
I
get
think
out.
a lot of the things with walkthroughs though is like the walkthroughs and that kind of things is a lot of these websites that are delivering this information are a little bit more flexible and a little bit more versatile. So a lot of people quite quickly go to things like game FAQs and they can get their answers quicker and simpler rather than having to dig
yeah,
through
so,
an entire
well, just
walkthrough.
the two things that I find with them now is that, one, it's all moving to video.
Yeah.
A lot of people are moving to video, so I think in the future you're going to see a lot of the game's coverage by video.
Assuming
And
your
sec-
server can
yeah.
hold the bandwidth.
And the person responsible can
Deliver the content on time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, hey, look this way. I was in Japan, and on lightning speed internet, I could barely access PALGN. So
Did,
Oh,
I like to think Japan
there
is
might
kind
be
of
a
in the future, so
problem.
that might have been a bit of a premonition.
Yeah.
you know what? That's actually quite plausible. But anyway, yeah, and it's just been really fascinating. But just looking back and seeing how much things have changed.
Yeah, people don't want to sit down for 5 minutes and read a game review. They want to be spoon-fed the information on a video review, so they can get their hit and then decide whether they want to go out and buy it or not.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and I think the importance, no, you wouldn't call it the importance, but the impact of Metacritic has been profound as well.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting that if you're not on Metacritic, you don't really matter.
Yeah.
And the other
Which
and
is
the other
sad.
thing about
It's
it as
really
well,
sad.
it is very much so because it's almost as if Metacritic, it's almost as if the guys who are on Metacritic, you're just feeding a machine that regurgitates the simple answer.
Well, we already know that
Yeah.
like I know some publishers are pretty strict with their developers based purely on the Metacritic score. If a developer scores low for their game, the developer actually gets punished and or shut down. Like, the publishers are really pushing for a high Metacritic score, which is bizarre.
It
And
is.
the absurd thing is, like, a game might get a score like 78, but that's still
Yeah,
perceived
it's still
as,
not.
you know,
It's still
being
not
that
good
great.
enough. Like it's
Yeah, that's something that I'd really like to see turned around.
yeah, definitely.
I'd really like the kind of perception turnaround because so for example, I gave Nier 7.5. But to me, that's the absolute pinnacle of a 7.5 there. For me, Nier is a game that everyone should at least look at and try to experience.
I think I've had that discussion before, but I said if I had to review Nier, I would probably give it about a 7. But that doesn't take away the fact that I think it's one of the more unique and bizarre and creative games of the generation. Like, I loved it. But I'd have to give it a
Absolutely.
7 because it did have problems. It did have a lot of room to, fix stuff up. But it's still one of those games that go, hey, try this out. It's completely different.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing I found with reviewing games was that uh, unlike something like cinema, where you're reviewing a lot on opinion, I
Yeah.
found that game reviewing there are actually a lot of aspects that you can pinpoint and say, okay, that is wrong. If you press left and the guy goes right, you know something's wrong there.
There's a very mechanical side to it.
Yeah, so for mine, I always actually compared games to cars.
Care to
See,
elaborate, Jeremy?
well,
They both have engines.
not quite, but well, look at it this way. See, you can have a car and it can have a beautiful exterior. It can have these souped up rims and have your magnificent spoiler. The inside can be all leather trim. You
A
can have a
subwoofer,
dashboard
eh?
that tells you you can have a subwoofer and all this.
Yeah, bro.
But unless it drives well, it's not worth jack to you.
True.
No.
So for mine, it was always unless the game plays well, you can have all the artsy fartsy rubbish in there. You can have your innovative features and whatever, but unless it actually plays well at its core, for mine, it was never.
Yeah. No,
So
that's the policy that, yeah. I tend
Well, in
to
any
adopt.
case, I know people, or a lot of people like to try and be diplomatic these days and say, "Ah, reviews are just opinions." Well, the thing that I always kind of say is, well, with a game, there is always an objective aspect to that opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And think about this generation as well. We don't have a very dynamic audience. So going back to what you said, if it doesn't reach that threshold on Metacritic, people generally aren't interested.
Yeah.
The one thing that I was kind of bringing up before about things like walkthroughs and longer articles, um, I think the fact that you are seeing shorter articles and shorter attention span these days is kind of a side effect of gaming reaching a more mainstream audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Which,
suppose
yeah, no.
people are looking for something a bit more punchy, a bit more, makes the point quickly, which is really where the whole Metacritic thing, evolved
I just
from. People
exactly.
just want to look at that, that blurb and that score, and then that's it. And it also tends to be a bit of ammunition for the fanboys, looking at the scores of their games. But yeah,
Yeah, so just well, for me, that just shows that gaming still has a long way to go to be taken as a serious industry.
Hmm.
But I hope that, well, particularly you guys, I know, are going to stick around, and hopefully you guys will be able to see that.
oh yeah, well, hopefully.
Yes. Well, this rocket's taking off very shortly, so we'll see where that goes.
Nice little plug there. Anyway, guys,
Yeah.
well, phew, I was so today I was kind of writing up my final article, which is a whole uh, teary article about how much I enjoy being on PALGN and all the moments and this blah blah blah.
Hmm.
Did you cry, Jeremy?
Oh, last night I cried. I cried hard last night.
You cried hard,
As oh, the heavy rain. That's what's happening there.
like tears in the rain.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
But well, if any guys, well, while we're still sticking around here, we chewing the fat. For you guys, what are some of your memorable PALGN moments?
I
Jared.
think when I first started, it was very I'd never written for a game website before. I'd served as staff on a lot of websites, but never written anything. So to kind of be adopted into that team, and I think it's a first that first taste of the industry. Like Anthony and I have gone to Nintendo quite a few times, but my very first outing was to THQ of all places, and it was really
Ironic now.
yeah,
What's
ironic,
going on with us
but
and THQ?
I didn't know what to expect. I really had no idea what one of these preview events were about. I didn't know what the dress code was, if there was a dress code, what the kind of atmosphere was, and for the day, it was pretty much. I think the point where you kind of realize what's going on is we were all sitting around on a couch watching a guy demo a game that was unreleased as we were drinking beer and eating these Belgian chocolate custard things, and I'm thinking, and I'm just dressed in my slobby casual wear, and I'm thinking, this is really really great. This is an incredible perk, and really really, it's fun. You want to be there. You're not. It's professional, but you're not being overly, false in the professionalism. It's just you're there because you love games and you want to, watch this game. You want to write about this game, and you want to go back to your website and articulate what you felt about this game so that people can read it and kind of get an idea of how you felt. So it didn't feel like job or work, I suppose would be the best way to put it. It was, I was
Yeah.
there because I wanted to write about games. If I didn't want to be, if I wasn't enjoying it, I would have just left. But, you never had that. It was just, loving games, writing games, getting up, talking about these games, playing about these games, and communicating to other people how you felt about these games. And you felt appreciated, which was a really good thing as well.
What's your proudest moment?
My
on the
proudest
PALGN?
moment. My proudest moment. I think more recently. I don't think there'd be any specific one, but like stuff like Xenoblade, for example. That was a hugely surprising game for me because going back to the cynicism,
Yeah.
I sort of really turned off the JRPGs in the last probably 5 years, and that to me was just like a genre revitalization. It was just
And props for finishing
well, that was just
in
it. Like,
under a
not only
week.
was it a huge surprise and a great game that I enjoyed, but it was one of those games that I started and I literally could not stop playing until I finished it. And I think I cranked that review out after I got the game in like a couple of days, which, considering the size of the game, was
Yeah.
completely ridiculous. But for me,
Yeah.
like it doesn't feel
Achievement-
like work. It doesn't feel like you're exhausting yourself.
Achievement
It's
unlocked.
just this flow of playing the game and writing about it. The review was huge, and I was really happy with my work. So yeah, stuff like that. Just almost like the point of starting a game, finishing it, and then reviewing it is just this blur of enjoyment. A little bit of stress, which is
Yeah.
good to keep you writing, but it's just a blur of really getting into it and enjoying it. It doesn't feel like a job or work. It's just we're writing about games, and it's great.
And that's really
And Jared,
articulating that. That's
You
pretty
articulate
much
the
why
best thing there.
I stuck around for so long.
Yeah.
So to kinda get that sensation.
To just sort of, not to go into specifics, but towards the end of the website, I didn't actually plan to stick around as long as I had, but I ended up sticking around just because there was stuff I wanted to do, just a couple of things I wanted to finish up,
Yeah.
some things I did want to write about, and I still enjoyed writing about it. So you're there because you want to be.
Yeah, and exactly. That's pretty much that sentiment kind of summarizes what's kept me in this for so long.
Yeah.
We got into this organisation because we love gaming, and it's what
Yeah.
sustained us.
Yeah,
for
it's
so
really
long.
great because
And being able to communicate that to our
yeah.
audience.
So the one thing is that I look at some of the guys that I work with right in full time because actually I don't know what people know, but I've actually worked a full time job and ran PALGN for 3 years. So effectively, I've been working 2 jobs for 3 years straight.
What?
One is a volunteer.
And one is
volunteer
one's
job,
volunteer. Which while things were going great, it was fine because I look at some of these people that I work with and they go home and they have to study for accounting and finance exams. I'm saying, screw you guys, I'm off to go play video games. I'm off to go I'm off to go get drunk with famous game producers, and they're just looking at me and they're thinking, well, yeah, what do you think? I'm thinking, dude, I don't know how much longer I'll be able to enjoy
do
this.
that,
I
yeah.
just want to enjoy it while I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly,
But at the same time, though, there's quite a lot of work involved in actually making sure that stuff gets
oh,
delivered.
seriously, the amount of work that's been put in, it's very difficult to articulate to someone or really give someone an idea of how much goes into it.
It's not, believe it or not, it is not all
Yeah, I think
complicated.
that's one of the
There's a
things
lot
you
of
kind
work
of
that
sort of have
goes
to
on
drill
behind
into
the
the
scenes.
community. Not that you understand why they don't understand, but when
Yeah.
even though it is a casual thing and even though we do enjoy it,
It's an industry like any other area. And
yeah, we still have to
there's a lot of
maintain
toing
those
and froing,
relationships. We're
there's-
still expected to meet deadlines. We're still expected to produce a certain standard of work. Yeah,
There's a lot of communication involved between the PR
we
people
actually have
and
to
the writers.
try. I suppose is the way to put it.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
There's many hours poured into it, and yeah, it's still a job. The fact we do it voluntarily should be a good indicator of how much we actually enjoy it and how much we dedicate ourselves to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really, at the end of the day, why PALGN was sustained, was because you had this collective belief of people going in all that same direction.
Yeah.
The ones who weren't able to follow it fell off. And that's pretty much what made me so happy to have the team that I did at the end, was that we were all able to go in that direction. And we all had our own flavors. Everyone brought something to the table.
Yeah.
Oh, and and Jared? I mean, obviously we know your flavor, but did I ever have my flavor?
Yeah, I know.
Does it start
Anthony's
with
flavor's a bit
Ant-Man
narrow,
and
but
Effect?
Well, I never thought I would be a part of PALGN for that long, but every year, kind of like that one moment every year which would validate my membership of PALGN would be the
Yeah,
Call of
yeah,
Duty review.
yeah. That was a so cool.
Like like it got up to the 5th Call of Duty review, and it's like, wow, I've been a part of this for a while now. Going back and looking at my very first review and seeing how much my writing had evolved and how you're able to hammer down that technique.
And
going
you did
through
the whole
final
Modern
one.
Warfare trilogy. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So being a part of PALGN, it's really allowed me to refine my writing skill, but at the same time, it's allowed me to convey my passion.
Yeah,
for
actually, the
games
personal
to,
development
to
thing is
people
one
who
worth
like me
mentioning.
really enjoy
yeah,
it.
you're like, I love writing. Don't necessarily write
Yeah.
myself home as being an excellent writer, but I know for a fact
Yeah.
from the moment I started at PALGN to where I am now that I have adopted new skills from every other writer, literally from
Yeah, and
everybody
being
I
able to
drew
convey-
something from, because everyone had
being
different
able to
style.
convey your
Yeah.
enjoyment for a game and being put that into a written word, and then just seeing that
Yeah.
finished work.
And not make it sound always like
like-
a drunken kind of waffling on, which
Yeah.
occasionally happened.
And can be quite
but
difficult.
yeah, it's and I think there's always that personal desire to keep developing and keep growing, which is you want to get better
Yeah.
at what you're doing because that benefits you and it benefits all your readers as well. They get to read better stuff other than crap.
Well, it's amazing because I look
I
at
mean, for
I look at
myself,
my
it's
early
been a-
reviews, and a lot of my early reviews are massive. They're all 2,000, 2,500 words plus. And by the end, I'd managed to refine it down to be able to pretty much nail most things to about 1,200 to 1,500 words. And yeah, just like I was just saying, you go back and you look, and I've got over 300 reviews to go back and look at. And I'll look at some of the early ones, and I think, what the hell was I on about there?
Yeah.
I think you single-handedly wrote PALGN's PSP.
Pretty much, yeah. I've written so many PSP reviews, and thankfully, I've actually managed to erase most of them from my mind.
Yeah. Jared, what's your... Well, not your worst review, but the worst game you review.
Oh, mine's easy.
Conduit 2 was pretty shitty.
Okay. Jeremy?
Yeah. Oh no, White Knight Chronicles 2. Which is kind of polarizing, really, because I said Xenoblade was one of the more memorable ones. That entire White Knight
So one JRPG to another.
White Knight Chronicles 2 is one of the worst JRPGs I've played, and it was probably longer than Xenoblade Chronicles. So, on one hand, I'm pushing myself quickly through this amazing game that surprised me, that I loved, and on the other hand, I was spending more time grueling through this horrible train wreck.
Yeah. Game reviewing
And you
can
have
be
to
a
play
chore
it
at
because you promised
You
the
have to.
publisher, and that you don't want to.
Yeah, and at the same time, you have to be...
Yeah,
have to be objective at the
you
same
actually
time.
have to
bring
try.
out
You
the
can't
good
just
and the bad element.
whinge and bitch and moan. You have to try to write a review, and
Which probably...
yeah,
Well, here's the thing.
Take me to my-
Here's the thing with. I know it's a really big contentious issue within gaming communities. How much do people actually play before they review it? And I know we can name other sites and make jokes about how they don't actually do it,
Yeah.
but for me personally, it took me a while to kind of realize the value of a written piece based on something that you've completed.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the way that you write something based on something you haven't finished and the way that you write something based on how you finished it are
Yeah.
two completely different things. And an astute reader will figure out if you
Yeah,
finished it
yeah.
or not.
Yeah.
And on that note, I challenge every person who's reviewed Vampire Reign, have you actually finished that game? I played that game for
okay,
20 hours and I've seen the ending. It was definitely not worth it. But I want to
favourite-
know if anyone out there actually finished it.
You know,
Okay, my favourite review has no ending. Football Manager.
Oh, geez, that might have been
I thought
fun.
people love that game.
Oh, look, don't get me wrong. I can see the value in
You
the
gotta
depth
love
of this
football
game,
for it.
but
and spreadsheets.
no, never again. Look, critically, it's a fantastic game. Just not one that I would
You've
ever
got the
play
next
on
one
my own
pre-ordered,
back.
don't you? Right next to your Mass Effect pre-order.
I've got the latest,
pick
I've
it up
got the
at
latest
launch.
version if you want it. I can send it to you.
No, I've still got the 2007 version sitting somewhere
Well-
around. That's been the absolute highlight of my entire
My
career with
the
PUBG,
worst
and
game that I reviewed on the site. It's easily the worst game. Terminator Salvation.
I have a friend who absolutely loved that game.
Oh, it was horrendous.
He loved it.
But the best part about it was only 3 or 4 hours long.
And And apparently the
And you got a-
achievements are really
got
easy to
1000
get.
G.
Yeah,
Easy.
it's pretty much
That's
finish
why
the
he
game on
loved it.
hard. Well done to your friend.
Jer-
Don't congratulate him.
Jared, would you say that your favourite view that you've done for 12 is Xenoblade?
I don't know if that'd be my favourite. I really enjoyed writing the Donkey Kong Country Returns one. Apologies to Adam because I think I was awake for about 27 hours. I just hadn't slept, and I was completely disorientated. And he shot me a PM and just sort of said, there was a lot of grammatical and structural issues.
You were
Yeah,
one
like I
mean
mean that was
reviewing
just a mess.
machine.
But at the same time, that was a game that I really poured myself into in the review. I really went wild on. And Metroid Other Realm was really interesting as well because I'm a huge Metroid fan. It's one of my favourite franchises. But that wasn't a game that entirely lived up to my expectations. So I think that was a game to kind of, to go into a game that you're really excited about, you're really keen to write for, and to have that moment of stepping back and going, okay, maybe it wasn't as good as, I hoped it would be. It's a bit sobering. So I enjoy writing the reviews that are a bit more challenging to me, in my personal opinion.
Yep. Jeremy?
There's
what's been your
so
favourite
many.
review?
I've actually got an article written about my favorite reviews. Well, I'll give you a flavour of some of them. So some that I really remember. So my first piece of review code was Cricket 2005, and that game was
Wow.
busted as sin. I gave it 4.5 out of 10, but in retrospect, it was more worth a 2 or something. Because seriously, that game was borderline broke. It was one of those games that you play.
2 is broken. 2 is, this game.
Yeah, it was
actually
literally broken.
It is
It
fundamentally
was broken. It was, yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty much you couldn't bat in the game. You'd get bowled out for 3, and the other team would score 500 against you. So it was fundamentally broken.
Yeah. You're speaking to an illiterate sports person, but I assume that's
It's
bad.
pretty bad. Another, like I said before, Vampire Rain. That
Okay.
was an interesting review. It was a really
Surely you think
Oh,
the
look,
fact
I
that you
played that
actually
for half
finished
an
the whole
hour.
thing and you churned out a review, it's got to be a personal accomplishment, surely.
I think I deserve an award for that.
The Vampire Hunter Award.
something like that. But
Yes.
it's a really interesting game because it had these massive peaks and massive troughs. Because when the game actually occasionally gave you some really good equipment and made the game actually really enjoyable, because you could be stealthy about it, then you'd have a shotgun and vampire comes, you shoot him in the face, and it was great. But when they took that shotgun away, the game was terrible. The vampires could spot you from 3 kilometers
unplayable.
away.
What's it on?
Oh,
Yep.
both Xbox and
Xbox.
PS3.
I'll have to look it up.
And later on PS3.
Oh, if you can get it for $10
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something, it's worth it just to see the peaks and troughs of that game.
Your gun is
It
like
is.
a pea
It's
shooter.
it's a Splinter Cell ripoff.
Oh,
And there is one good gun in the game.
Terrible
That's
ripoff.
the shotgun, and that's the only time it works. And the boss battles are hilariously terrible. There's this one massive hulking boss that's about twice the size of you, and he's running around going.
why? Why?
It was
Why?
amazing.
Why?
I got some. I'm giving you more
Alright,
stories. Shut up.
Getting
Halo
nostalgic.
3. Now this is funny because at the
Should I
time-
nap through this? Should I nap?
Well, no. You actually the story
Yeah,
behind
go
how I
ahead.
got the review up is actually more interesting than the game itself.
I'd want to be.
Well, because what happened at the time, I worked in retail, and I actually went and bought my copy before it was released.
Ooh, that's naughty.
So, I was very naughty then. But I actually paid for it, so I didn't do nothing.
Oh, so you didn't steal it. That's good.
No, I didn't see it. I paid for it, and I've got the receipt. I've still
Yeah.
got the receipt here
Good
today.
start.
And so I bought it on Sunday. Spent the whole night up playing it. Had the review written, and it was ready for launch at the same time as the world embargo lifted.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. And
Yep.
you did that wasn't review code or anything.
There wasn't a review code. That was done off my own back.
Uh,
Which it wasn't necessarily the game itself that made it exciting. It was just the whole being at the forefront of getting that information out there to everyone.
I know what
That made
that's
it
like with
exciting.
Epic Mickey. Thank you very
Yep.
much.
Jeremy,
that's-
your
that's my
favourite
favourite.
review of mine? Gears of War
Oh
2.
yes, that I was coming to
Gears
that.
of War
Gears of
2.
War 2. Now again, it's I've never seen an
8.5?
8.5 get such an incendiary reaction.
See, this is what I was talking about with ammunition for the console wars. You gave them a half-empty
Okay,
clip.
my Modern Warfare 2 review came close. My Modern Warfare 2 review came close. That was
No,
an
no, Denny
8.5.
stole your thunder there.
What did it?
Yeah, but he was.
What was he
P-
reviewing?
He
What
was
was
PC,
Denny
so he got
reviewing?
away with it. He reviewed PC.
Yeah, we did the
Ah.
two separate
I don't
reviews
recall.
at the time because you kind of had your console built game, and then you had all the furor about not having dedicated servers and
yeah.
whatnot on that, how not having a streamlined experience, and how
But strangely enough, Denny did not get flamed, yet I did, and I gave it a whole point.
I think.
I
well,
wonder why.
You're speaking to the console juveniles. Danny
think
was
it speaks-
speaking to the
Yeah, it
the
speaks
mature
volumes about the
articulated
console
PC
players.
race. So
But yeah, Jeremy, no, Gears of War 2.
Oh yeah,
Absolute
that's just
favourite of
the
mine.
memories, and the most hilarious thing about that is that you had so many people vehemently arguing, it's definitely a 9, this game can't be anything but a 9. I'm sitting there looking at the clock thinking, game's not out for 2 days. How do you know that?
Yeah. Yeah, and the difference between an 8.5 and a 9, just going back to
Yeah,
what we said
exactly.
earlier.
It's not.
I hope you know, Jeremy, because of that Metacritic rating, you probably got someone fired.
Oh, sorry. Well, I've actually met Cliffy B.
How is he?
He's a cool guy.
Okay.
Though the guy next to me gave him Tim Tams, and he got much better rapport with him. So if you give Cliffy B some Tim Tams, you meet him, he'll be your mate.
Okay.
You know who I want to give Tim Tam
Robert
to?
Bowling.
Let's not.
I remember my interview with that guy. I had so many. That was
Who was
that
this?
at the
Sorry?
same time that Infinity Ward, Robert Bowling. He's the
Okay.
community manager at Infinity Ward. He's like the face of Call of
Yeah.
Duty for Activision. And this is back when I was given the opportunity to interview him, and thanks Jeremy for putting me up for that. That was the whole time that the Infinity Ward debacle was getting spilled out into the press, much like I work now with PALGN, ironically enough. And like all these people were breaking away from Infinity Ward, and Activision was suing the president and lead, and we had this interview lined up with Robert Bowling. I had all these questions lined out as the whole situation. Then we get on the phone with the PR rep, and the PR rep says, "Okay, this interview must be kept solely about the upcoming map
Boring.
pack for Call of Duty."
Oh, there goes all your questions.
I ripped up every single question. I got down to discussing the weapons that were Robert Bowling's favourites. I was
God.
scraping the bottom
Wow.
of the barrel. That's one of my more memorable.
Though,
experiences with PALGN. But who I would like to give a packet of Tim Tams.
Yeah. He was a nice guy too.
Why don't
He
you
did-
just marry him, Anthony? Why don't you just marry him?
Which brings me on to probably the favourite review I have ever done for PALGN, Lair of the Shadowbreaker.
You did really
Mass
enjoy
Effect
that.
2. Yeah,
It ticked boxes.
I know a 1,200 word review for DLC is probably going a little too far, but that seriously has been one of my favourite game experiences of all time, and just being able to convey my enjoyment
The love.
that I had for playing that into a review. That review I did. I'm pretty. It's probably the review
One
I'm
that
most satisfied
the
with.
review that was meant to be my last one was Skyward Sword,
Okay.
and I kind of
Oh
went.
yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was meant to be. That didn't quite work out well, but oh well. But something that I really took into when I reviewing that game was that for me it clicked. The game clicked for me. I
I was
absolutely
exactly the
adored
same.
it. I adored it from start to finish.
Yeah.
It had me. Well, the problem was it didn't quite have me hooked at the beginning because I had a whole bunch of other things to deal with.
Yeah.
But when I really got to sit down and actually got into it, I was kind of thinking about it all day at work, going, "Oh, I can't wait to go home and keep playing it."
Yeah.
And for me, the review was kind of going back to the beginning for me. It was kind of going back and thinking, and I had the kind of mindset, all right, why did I start writing about games in the first place? And so that entire review is
Yeah.
purely not only a homage to the game, but a homage to the reasons why I originally started that.
I think I feel the same way about
mean-
my Shadowbreaker review. It was like the whole reason why I got involved, just being able to.
You're a really
convey,
old school
really
Zelda
our
fan too,
enjoyment.
aren't you, Jeremy?
Yes.
Yeah, so I suppose it was kind of like, yeah, this is a franchise that you have followed for a little while, and this was sort of a big game to see, exactly how far. The
And it would have
franchise
been really nice. It would have been really nice to actually finish on that because for me that was kind of I hadn't reviewed top of the line Zelda game,
Yeah.
So I'd reviewed kind of the smaller ones, but I never reviewed the actual
The big console releases.
console release. So for me, that was kind of a signal I've done it.
Yet you've put in this massive effort
The
for
last couple
Final
of
Fantasy
demos.
Oh
and Soul
God!
Calibur to sign off on,
And don't forget Never Dead,
Oh yeah, Never Dead. Sorry, I forgot about that one.
and
which
Never
actually
Dead.
it's being panned out there. But
You have one of the highest reviews on the net. There's a thread about
no,
it on
actually,
Gaff.
I enjoyed it.
Well, I don't know. I haven't
I
played it.
enjoyed it to an extent. The one big problem that it has is that it's got no enemy variety.
Yeah, I heard that.
It's that's the major stickler with that game. It's got no enemy variety, and the quick time event to kind of save yourself from death is on the borderline of busted. Which is why you
Yep.
avoid death.
True.
Skill.
Yeah. Oh, and talking about review memories, what about podcast
Adam,
Oh,
Adam's
man.
dick jokes were always really good. Um, no,
Quite a few of them
Well,
didn't
it's
make
really
it.
interesting because I was kind of on the first podcast. That was myself, David
Yeah.
Lowe, who was the editor at the time, and James Peter, who was the owner at the time. So we started with those guys, and we were kind
Yeah.
of talking. Had this really intelligent conversation, and then it kind of it escalated
downhill since
when
then.
when
Since then.
guys like Evan and Daniel were writing for PALGN. They really
And Tristan,
pushed the
yeah.
barrier of what kind of games. Absolutely,
They
they
upped
really
the
pushed
ante.
the barrier of what kind of coverage games should be getting. And then
Yeah.
later it was Adam and Danny, and yes, so,
And then I came along and
yeah.
and here we are.
Well, it was you,
Jared.
me, and Jahanzub.
yeah,
for a while, yeah.
We were a good
for a while
team.
there. And I challenge anyone to find an episode where
I
Mass
think we were
Effect
just
and
doing
Call
that
of
to
Duty
troll
were not mentioned.
Jahanzub, really. Because he hated it so. It was 2 against 1.
Happy times.
Very nice.
No, some
good
some
times.
happy times then. Jeremy, what I remember from yours.
Oh,
is
that's
playing
right. Yeah,
Pro
there was
Evo
one where
for
I
that
we were
entire
playing Pro
podcast
Evo,
episode.
and I incidentally when they came to talk to me, I just scored a goal, so that was fun. But then I went quiet after I
Yeah.
lost. So.
And the 2 hour Zelda and Castlevania podcast, even though I did not understand a single thing that was said in the
Oh, absolutely
in
love
them,
them.
I
That was
listened
a
to them
lot of good
faithfully.
times there.
If you can go out and dig out those
Absolutely.
podcasts, they're still
Yeah,
excellent
and
listening.
something that I really want to encourage to all gamers and aspiring game writers and all these kind of people out there, really do what you can to get to E3 or TGS or any of those events.
Good fun.
Really, because those for me are part of my highlights of PALGN. Despite I actually enjoyed the fact that I went and paid myself to go and go see them. Because if I hadn't done it now, if I'm sitting now leaving and having not done those, I would have regretted it.
Yeah.
Because whether
You got to take the bike. From me.
oh boy, oh the things I got up to in Japan,
the
things
the
that I got
golden
up to in
bike.
Japan. Oh, there's
Shall
some
remain
good
unsaid.
adventures in the bathhouse there. But no, look, yeah,
Being able to
the only problem with by the time I got to TGS, a lot of the problems with PowerGen had really started to weigh me down. So I probably didn't enjoy it as much as I normally would have. Had I gone when things were going great, then it was brilliant. TGS is a phenomenal event. Then you got E3. E3, there is nothing like it. The one thing I never understood about E3 is how the hell do all those American fatties survive during that? You need to be freaking fit to get around E3.
wouldn't there be a burger booth on
I
every
wouldn't-
corner though?
One, I wouldn't touch those burgers. Two, I don't think I could afford those burgers. Even with the exchange rate being favourable, I don't think I could afford those burgers.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Convention.
No, it's actually, it's literally because since there was only Adam and myself there, we had pretty much the entire days booked out for appointment upon appointment. And it was really awkward because we'd be the LA Convention Center. It's massive. You've seen nothing like that in Australia. I went to the Gold Coast Convention Center for EB Expo, and that's a quarter of one of the rooms. The entire convention center is a quarter of one of the rooms in LA.
Yeah.
So you've kind of got these two polar. So you got the South Hall and the West Hall, and it's at least a 10-minute walk between halls,
That,
and that's it.
And you would have had
Oh,
a
you'd
number of
have one
appointments in
appointment
both.
that'd go from 12 to 1 in the West Hall, and then 1 till 2 in the South Hall.
It needs its own
Yeah, actually, we
transport
were looking out for Gabe Newell on the Segway, but we never found him.
system.
You leave
But-
Gabe out of this.
Oh, that would have been.
Nah, Gabe's a good guy.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, E3, that's a
Oh.
crazy time. We'd wake up in the morning, I'd have this box of this American cereal called Apple Jacks.
I've heard
Which
of
is pretty
Apple
much-
Jacks. I've heard of Apple Jacks.
It's pretty much Fruit Loops, but one's an apple flavor, one's a cinnamon flavor.
Yeah.
So I'd have that in the morning. And then the entire day I'd have nothing to eat. And then one of the things that I actually enjoyed about E3 is that we'd get home and we stayed in Universal City, which is a nice little spot with great restaurants. Adam and I would go down, we'd have ribs, and it was amazing.
American ribs.
Well, that's one thing they do pretty well.
Yeah, maybe this
One
year.
day,
who
Jared,
knows?
you and I.
Oh yeah, but look,
We'll
guys,
see.
just in dead seriousness, you have to go at least once.
I'll put it on
I'm
my
glad
list.
I want to take the bike for a ride.
That's Japan.
See, at least
The American bike.
well, the good thing about going a
not gonna
second
go
time
there.
was that you got used to it and you knew how things worked. Oh, you know,
Are we still talking about the bike, or
Oh, just E3 in general. You know, ironically, I almost got into a fight at the Nintendo booth at my first year.
was it with Reggie?
No, I don't think I
Oh.
can take Reggie.
He's a big guy.
He's very big. Yeah, and he's very imposing on
Very
the stage too.
enthusiastic guy.
It's a big stage, but
He
he's
has
quite
a
imposing on
presence.
it.
He has a presence.
Oh, definitely.
So,
Because he's just that freaking big.
so who'd you get into a fight with? Almost.
I don't know who the site was, but it's because they were filming something and I couldn't get past to get out of the booth. And I muttered something under my
Yep.
breath pertaining to negative things about Americans.
It's the Australian
Yeah, it was.
way.
No, and it's in LA as well. America's actually a nice place, just LA as a whole.
Yeah.
I really wish they move E3 somewhere else because LA as a whole.
So just
But I
stay,
don't think it's gonna
stay,
happen.
stay in the convention center.
Yeah.
Just don't wander the streets.
Yeah.
Oh no, well the
Jeremy,
oh,
PALGN memories.
so many of them. Two of my favorite memories are the press trips that I had to first San Francisco in 2007, then Paris in 2008. And the
Good
Paris
times.
one was amazing. I took a week out of uni. I got taken to Paris. The first night we landed, they took us to a dancing show.
Is that for Ubisoft?
Well, I wanted to leave companies out of this to kind of save it, but hey, it's out there now.
Oh, you can say no.
I got an article written about it. If you look for it hard enough, you're going to find it there. Yeah, but it was great. So in a week, I've covered a whole bunch of the entertainment areas.
Oh no, Midway. It was
Whole bunch of
Midway.
the entertainment areas.
Nintendo.
Got to climb the Eiffel Tower, explore Paris in a week, and come back as if nothing had happened. It was mind blowing.
Like a dream.
So
Yeah.
it's just there's a real shame now that the global financial crisis really screwed it up for a lot of people after that. So a lot of
Yeah.
those kind of perks within the gaming industry pretty much dried up after the GFC. But it looks like things are starting to recover now. So hopefully in a few years people will actually get that opportunity because, personally, part of the reason to stay with PALGN and stay on as editor was to kind of give. Well, what I really wanted to do was give the younger guys an opportunity to experience these things, which, well, hopefully they got to experience at least a few nice things.
Yeah, I think Jared and I have got a taste of.
Outside of the
What you
regular
got to
meetings, it was all
experience.
good stuff.
Yeah. It was nice being able to walk the PALGN mansion without all that.
Yeah.
Oh, someone's got to keep your little pricks in the line, so.
Jared, any PALGN memories?
Staying up too late to churn out hundreds of pieces of news over E3.
Oh,
News.
oh, man, we were up late too at E3 too. I'll tell you
I
now.
don't mean to gloat, but I'm pretty sure I held the news flow on my own,
Oh, absolutely.
my own back for a good
Yep.
period there. Thank you, Insomnia.
You earn your stripes.
I don't know. It's I'm much like I suppose Bev and all that. I'm still one of the younger, newer writers. I've only been there for a little over a year, I think, maybe a year and a half.
No, you guys have done a year and a half.
Yeah,
Because
so
we brought you in May 2010.
yeah, we did two because I've done two E3s.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
Yep.
so we haven't done a lot. Yeah, with training.
Training wheels are off.
Yeah, we let him off you now. Good
I
work.
bled it. Thanks, guys.
Graduation. Graduation.
Escape the flames. Go. Obviously don't have the legacy kind of reviews that memories that Jeremy has, but I think it was just the work put in. Staying up late, doing ridiculous hours,
Yeah.
doing things that you shouldn't be doing just to write a bloody review for a game, just because you want to do it for some ludicrous reason. I loved our
Yep.
trips to Nintendo. Got to play Skyward Sword and all that. First, the perks of playing games before they're out, because deep down, I'm a gamer. I really
Yeah.
love games. I just want to play games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It does feel like a privilege. It
you
really
just
feels
wanna,
like a privilege
it's
being
cool
able to
play
go
that
there
game
and
that you're
experience
really
them.
excited for, that you don't really know a lot about, and see the 3DS for the first time, and play all these games that nobody else, not the mass public, haven't played yet, and you're really excited about them. You get to have a go. Yeah, it's that cool kind of harkens back to your youth of opening that new game on Christmas morning. I suppose the more grown-up adult
Yeah.
version of it.
Yeah, and that's really the big thing for me that
Yeah.
kind of embodied PALGN, is that at core we were all gamers.
Yeah,
We weren't writers who tried to be gamers. We weren't journalists who tried to be gamers. I myself actually have a back.
We were gamers who tried to be
Actually, no,
journalists.
I resent that. I don't want to be put in with journalists. I prefer to call myself a games writer.
a games connoisseur.
What's
Okay.
Well, it's funny because I have a background in economics and statistics, yet here I am writing about games, whereas all these other guys have their kind of artsy and literary backgrounds. And
Yeah.
I can do more than you.
You put
Oh
two
no!
and two together.
Another memory that I have is actually one of the or two of the articles I actually wrote for PowerGen that really stand out for me was the two articles I wrote comparing the different sides of the violence from media arguments. So one was really comparing a study, because these psychology studies are essentially stat studies.
Yeah.
They get a bunch of numbers together using a bunch of tests and see which numbers tell you what. And it was observing one side is that one guy argues, okay, violent media does cause aggressive behavior, and the other guy is saying, well, it's not exactly violent media. You have to look at external factors as well, such as
Too many
sociological background. And the really interesting thing for me was kind of using my statistical background and applying it to try and to interpret it for a non-statistical audience, a non-psychology audience.
You nerd.
And it was really fascinating. Get this, the first guy I looked at, he's the really famous guy within this field, Professor Craig Anderson. And his results are really fascinating because, well, at their core, it said, okay, for every extra hour you play of violent video games, your empathy decreases by 0.01%.
How do you
And-
measure that?
Well, we get to that in a sec. Just what was really interesting about it was these results were called significant. And what significant means in statistical term, it just means that it's not zero.
Yeah.
So that's really that was really fascinating. But as Jared was saying there, some of the methods for measuring aggressive behavior were really weird. One of them is measuring someone's reaction to an air horn.
Well, that would piss me off after how many hours of gaming to have a friggin' air horn blown at me. Fuck off.
Yeah, so
So that's why you get. Is that why you get so
I have
angry,
an air
Jared?
horn that I keep
After playing Zelda.
knocking every time I'm playing a game, and it just makes me so angry.
Yeah.
yeah, so that for me, those articles were real good ways of kind of combining my non-gaming background and my gaming background.
Yeah.
But in any
Yeah.
case,
You
as
brought
I
a part
said,
of yourself into the
at
site.
the end of the day, there are so many memories I could go through. We could go for hours just kind of reminiscing about all all the things that have happened
We
on
could.
PALGN, but just suffice to say, regardless of how things have ended, regardless of the bad things, the good things outweighed it 50,000 times over. It's been
Absolutely.
a ride like
Absolutely.
any, unlike any I could have imagined. I've achieved just about everything that I dreamed of achieving when I started. I experienced 10 times more than I thought I would ever would. I met
Some great
great people,
surprises.
some good surprises, some not so good surprises,
And some
some
fantastic
fantastic people,
people.
and two douchebags I'm talking to now.
Haha.
No, you guys are lovely. I love you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, look,
Yeah.
Do you want me to my
Jared?
goodbye message? I'm
that's
not
up to
going
you.
to do a goodbye message. I'm not a big fan of goodbyes. The staff know.
yeah, he's going on with one with now.
Pardon?
He's going on with one now.
Well, no, like, I'm in good contact with the staff, so, we're sticking around, we're going to chat. I'm not done with anything yet. You will see me writing elsewhere, so rather than the end, I'll see you,
Uh-huh.
across the road, I'll see you down the road. Or in space.
Or in space.
I might need a rocket to get there, and I better arm
Yep.
myself with a chainsaw, but I'll be there.
And some
Yeah.
with some
And you can
machinery.
listen to my crap once I get there.
Absolutely. We'll be listening to you for a while, Jared. Well, it's been a fantastic ride. It's been a privilege to write for the site. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fantastic memories.
Yeah, so
Great
just in
people.
case you didn't get that for now, I'm taking a break now. After 7 years of working two jobs, I'm thinking
Time to hibernate.
I deserve some I actually deserve some time to actually sit down and play some games.
Play
That would
some
be-
games for fun.
I actually started playing
Yeah.
Duke Nukem Forever for fun, and I enjoyed it.
I don't want to talk about Duke Nukem Forever.
Oh man, it's already started
Yeah,
to rub
I
off.
think it's just the euphoria that I can play this and I don't have to do anything with it.
I
That's
think
what
if you're
I'm
enjoying Duke Nukem Forever, what you need is to get some sleep, because
Oh yeah, I actually do
Yeah.
look forward to actually sleeping again too. That
Yeah.
is going to be that's something that I'm really going to enjoy.
yeah, grab yourself a bike, go for a ride.
Especially around Christmas.
I might have to head back to Japan for that.
uh, uh, Jared, final
I thought I
words.
gave my final words. I mean, I'm happy for what I accomplished.
Alright.
Good stuff. I'm going to keep in contact with all of them anyway. So
Yeah, I'm coming to Melbourne soon. Don't forget.
exactly. And as I said on the forums, PALGN is not.
Alright.
I suppose Jeremy and Michael articulated it well as well. PALGN's not a logo, a URL, or a brand name or anything like that. It is a composition
community.
of the staff and the community. That is what PALGN is. If you're going to find that kind of quality elsewhere, then that is where it'll be.
All right.
Eh.
Well,
Oh,
I'm off to
God.
save the galaxy, and I'll
No.
see everyone
So,
on the other side.
just as a final word, I want to thank every listener, every reader of PALGN, because as Jared has said, it was never about me. It was never about the staff. At the end, it was all about you guys. You guys are the ones who made the site. Your understanding and support over the time that's been difficult has been really much appreciated. And look, get out there, play some games, enjoy yourselves. If I do come back to this crazy little industry,
You'll have
We'll
a
see you
beard
then.
and everything. It'll be.
oh no, I'm only allowed to have one in November.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
For November,
Uh,
it's pretty good too.
Yeah. Well, we'll take
Oh,
a
you'll
chance
need one
on
to get
that.
rid of that. Anyway, guys,
what about you, Anthony? I mean, come on.
Alright.
Let's put Anthony on the spot. What are your
yeah,
last?
Anthony, you're on the spot.
What?
Come on.
Okay.
Chop chop. Your
He
last.
said he already
message.
What
said
am I
he's going to
last what?
space.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
This
I've got some collecting to do.
this is a good time to just stop.
Reap this.
Just I'm getting
I'm
getting
getting
the
a segue